Three, two, one.
You ready?
You're listening to the Real Pineapple Podcast Network. Good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for listening. This is the Real Pineapple. Your humble host, Hunter here. Hope you guys are having a great one so far. So, okay, I'm reviewing a very, God, I don't even know how to start with this movie. I'm reviewing this movie called Inheritance. This stars Lily Collins and Simon Pegg. So Lily Collins, you've seen her and stuff. She's been in, she was on The Kids in the Blind Side. That's right. She was in The Blind Side. She's in that crappy Taylor Lautner movie. Which one? I know. Abduction. She was in, she played Snow White in Mirror Mirror, which is where I remember seeing her and thinking, she's very charming. I think she's got something. She was in the Mortal Instruments, and I actually enjoyed the Mortal Instruments. Good grief. Not gonna set the world on fire, but that was a fine movie. And then you've seen her. She was in Tolkien, which I actually thought she was really great in. As much as I wasn't the biggest fan of that movie, I thought she was great. So she, in this movie, she is playing Lauren. Lauren is I believe a DA in New York, and her family is just big, powerful. I would say like the Kennedys, essentially, is what the movie was going for with them. Her dad played by Patrick Warburton, which. And I'm going to get to this, but he plays the Monroes. That's the family name. He plays Archer Monroe. And Patrick Warburton, we've seen him in stuff. To this day, he was the Tick, of course, in the first live action take on the character, which I think is very underrated still to this day. You know him, of course, as Kronk in Emperor's New Groove. He was on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. For a couple episodes. You know him as Joe Swanson from Family Guy. He is actually in a show I really enjoy. He was in, not just the Venture Brothers, but he was in Rules of Engagement, which was that CBS show with him and David Spade that I really enjoyed, actually. I always love seeing Patrick Warburton. You only see him in flashbacks here because Archer, the movie starts off, has died, and he left a will, obviously, and basically tells Lauren, hey, I have this deep, dark secret, but no one else in the family can know. It's only you that can know. And so he leaves her behind this voice message, or this video message, and she ends up going to this underground, almost like storage facility, where she walks in to find this man handcuffed in this very small room, the character's name being Morgan, who's played by Simon Pegg. And this is where the movie goes ahead and just starts to really descend into some tomfoolery, to put it mildly. What's really frustrating about this movie is that this movie really should have just stuck by what it was trying to be just a very, a paint by numbers thriller. But this movie is very determined to go ahead and write all of these sort of like twists and turns and red herrings, and in a movie where it doesn't need all of these things. The writer, Matthew Kennedy is the guy's name. He's done some acting, it looks like. Mostly, he's just been a producer, it looks like, actually, pardon me. But the only other two credits he really has are these two films called Restitution, which is a short, and then this other short called 15 Minutes with Jacob. and he was just a producer on those. And so this is his first writing attempt, and I thought for the most part this movie wasn't bad. It's just kind of boring. Lily Collins. What's frustrating about her character is that they portray her one way, and by the end of the movie, it completely betrays what this character is. I'm gonna go into full spoilers on this because I have to really talk about this. So Lauren and Morgan, it's a real big. Basically a big cat and mouse game between the two of them. Morgan is trying to tell her that your dad's had me down here. I believe he says 30 years, which is so insane to think about being locked in a room for 30 years. But Morgan is telling her that, you didn't know your dad. He was a shark. He was this. He was that. And you find sympathy for Lauren because, the term sins of the father, that exists for a reason. And we come to find out that Archer had a lot of sins that he covered up and a lot of things that he didn't want the family to know. And Lauren being really kind of the most moral person in the family, all of his baggage and bullshit falls on her doorstep. And you feel bad for her because she's really trying to just navigate her father's death. Her brother, William, played by Chase Crawford, you know him more than likely from Gossip Girl. I've seen a little bit of the Gossip Girl. Also, actually, when I think about it, I don't need to go back to Gossip Girl. What am I thinking? You know him as The Deep from The Boys, which is by far his best role. I love The Boys. Show's great. But he is really good in here. The problem is it's Chase Crawford and still having The Boys fresh in my mind. And also the show. But having The Boys so fresh in my mind, there's no part of you that's going to believe that he's an innocent party here. So when the dominoes start falling and he basically kind of relays his shit out, you go, well, yeah, of course. Why wouldn't you be this way? The person who I was really surprised at them not only being in this, actually just being in this, was Connie Nielsen. I was like, oh, okay. She's the matriarch. She plays Catherine Monroe, and there's not a lot of scenes with her and Lauren. And I kind of wanted more of those, but she does a great job of conveying kind of that desperation of trying to hold everything together, being the matriarch when all of this starts going down. Morgan, played by Simon Pegg, is my favorite part of the movie. I thought Simon Pegg, because you think about Simon Pegg, you think, Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz, World's End, the Mission Impossible movies, Star Trek, Scotty. I think Simon Pegg is one of the best actors we have working, period, right now. And it made me so incredibly happy to see him in a very different role for him. He starts off one way where you feel sympathetic for him, and okay, so you feel sympathetic for him, but the problem is the movie kind of lays its cards out early on. And what I mean by that is things are going along too paint by numbers that some insanity has to happen in the last 20-30 minutes. And that's exactly what happens here. I won't spoil how Morgan goes nuts or why, but once it happens, Simon Pegg really does have to dial it up to 11. And I went, okay, when Simon Pegg dials it up to 11, it is convincing as hell, because Simon Pegg is genuinely terrifying at points in this movie, which is really fun to watch. Because, again, I can't think of a role where I've seen Simon Pegg do what he's asked to do here. When I saw that this was kind of the character he's doing, I remember kind of thinking, really? You got Simon Pegg for this? But I think Simon Pegg sells it so incredibly well. Since I'm doing spoilers or whatever. So basically you find out that through all of the stuff that Morgan's been telling Lauren, which to his credit, he's not really lying to her. He basically lets Lauren know that the father had a mistress, and I mean, who in New York doesn't? But that her dad had a mistress, and that she has a half brother. He tells her about their times back in school together, and how they were really kind of these socialites before they were actually officially socialites, because the dad, Archer, he was just so smooth and just knew how to get what he wanted, and how Morgan and him really fed off each other and like fueled each other. And the way they talk about it's interesting, because Morgan never comes out and says like he loved Archer, but you could, and I actually almost think this would have been more interesting for Morgan to kind of come out and say, you got the love from your dad that I always wanted. I almost wish they had gone that route, because I know some people have been like, you're pandering, because people always say that, but that would have been a route personally I think would have benefited this movie more, because the alternative that they give us is that Morgan got too drunk one night, got handsy, and raped Catherine, Connie Nielsen's character. And it's just the way they do it at the end. It feels so ham-handed and just really unnecessary. It just felt like an additional twist for the sake of having a twist. So you find out that Lauren is Morgan's daughter through the rape. I remember just going, oh, that's really, I don't like that at all. And it really took a lot out of the sales from the movie for me personally. I just really didn't like that decision personally. And what's funny about this is that Lauren eventually does let Morgan free, but what killed me is that she gives him $1 million and then $100,000 in cash, because the family has a fixer on retainer, because why wouldn't they? Like this lawyer that they have. And you would think $1 million and $100,000 in cash to give him new passport, new social security, to give him a whole new identity since he's been off the grid for 30 years. They go ahead and give him all of this, and he still goes back to try to hurt Lauren and the rest of her family. And I remember thinking, dude, you got $1 million. Like, I know that doesn't make up for 30 years, but damn, like, come on, man. You're off the grid. You get to be whoever you want. You get a literal reset on life, and you're going to ruin it by coming back and being a dick. It really just, it was a very tough pill to swallow. And again, it just speaks to the movie feeling like it needed to do more than I really think it needed to do. It does get heartbreaking near the end, or kind of at points in the movie, because Lauren just didn't know. And you know, goes back to the sins of the father thing I mentioned earlier, where you feel for her because she's feeling all this stuff out, of finding all this stuff out about her dad and about her family, and she has no one to talk to about it. Because Catherine's kind of like, we need to keep the family together no matter what. William's a prick. And so she really doesn't have anyone to talk to but Morgan. And I thought the scenes between Lauren and Morgan, where it is this chess match, were really interesting. It reminded me of that movie Fracture with Anthony Hopkins and Ryan Gosling, The Ling. If you haven't seen Fracture, highly recommend you do. But I thought the scenes between the two of them were actually really good, and you get a lot of them. So I enjoyed that aspect of it. I thought it was directed well. It made New York feel like more like a character. You felt kind of the busyness of the city, especially when Lauren's going in and out of court. I found that it was really cool to actually see that. So there was stuff I liked here. I wasn't hating this really until the last 20 or so minutes, where I just thought it went fucking apeshit, and it really bothered me. Lauren has a black husband, so apparently Lily Collins isn't the black guy. So, Lily, hit me up. But but her husband's played by Mark. I'm gonna say Mark. I'm gonna go Mark. Might be Marquet. Probably Marquet. Marquet Richardson, who plays Scott. He was in Dear White People, and he's great in Dear White People, by the way. So it was really cool to see him. He's actually on the show too, and the show's excellent too. I'm starting to head up here again soon, but you don't get a lot of scenes with the two of them together, and that was another thing I kind of went, it would be nice to see them being, a couple instead of him and her really talking primarily through telephone. It would have been nice to see them actually be a family, so you felt more for her once things started to get dire, because her family's such a piece of shit. It'd be nice that her family with her husband, her kid, it would have felt more, it would have meant more to have that aspect be more affected and be more developed for me. But what you gonna do? Wrapping up here, I thought this was good until it decided it couldn't help itself but try to be more than it probably should have been. This is not a bad movie. It bums me out because I think this is a rewrite away from at least being a solid matinee film. And I understand this is this guy's first movie, but then get someone to help you. Get a co-writer if you're that concerned with your script. Again, I think everyone here was pretty good, especially the main family, the Monroe family. And Simon Pegg, I think this is one of those roles that will go, unfortunately, unappreciated. But then, as Simon Pegg continues to evolve and everything, people will go, oh yeah, that's right, you did this movie Inheritance I randomly saw. I thought Simon Pegg was excellent. So I'm going to give this a C+. I'm happy I saw this at home, but honestly, I would have rented this on Amazon and felt like I hadn't wasted my money. So yeah, solid C+. So guys, Inheritance, have you seen it? Let me know what you thought. You can go ahead and like us on Facebook at The Real Pineapple. You can go ahead and follow me on the Twitter at JHunter Real Pineapple. That's REEL Pineapple. You can follow Scott on Twitter at Nearman the First. And you can follow Colin on Twitter at The Real. That's REEL O'Neill. And go ahead and like, share, and subscribe us. You can find us on SoundCloud, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Podbean, Stitcher, and iHeartRadio at The Real Pineapple. Guys, thank you so much for listening. Please stay safe out there. We'll have more content coming your way soon. Please stay safe and take care of each other. Bye-bye.